Hot Breccia is the core project. They got over $1 million in the bank, but they've got a tremendous ability to raise capital. And we thought that retaining 24% interest in Blade and really converting our investments into an asset was the way to go. And it was the favorable thing for our shareholders. And we have anti-dilution rights, representation on the board.
Prismo Metals is a gold, silver, and copper exploration company with projects in Arizona and Mexico. The company just announced the strategic divestiture of its Hot Breccia Project to Blade Resources. CEO Alain Lambert is here to explain the transaction, how it unlocks value, and the next steps and catalysts for the company. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. Please remember, this is neither recommendation nor investment advice. We're here to learn about the company. Alain, good to see you.
Thank you, Martin. It's great to be back with you.
Let's talk about Hot Breccia here. You announced that transaction. Can you give us, go over it and then give us some details on what's going on there and how that unlocks value for shareholders?
I'd be happy to. And thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity to explain the transaction. I'm sure you have some questions and your listeners have questions. So did our shareholders. Maybe before I talk about the deal, let's just remind everyone that Hot Breccia is a compelling copper exploration play located between Phoenix and Tucson, Arizona, right in the middle of the famous Arizona copper belt. And we optioned 75% of it back in 2023, January 2023. And our deal was to do the exploration expenditures, make the cash payments to the underlying owner of the claims, and the 25% owner of the option, or not the owner of the option, but the other participant in the option, Infinitum Copper, they were going to make the share issuances. And so we spent in between 2023 and the end of last year about $2.4 million on the project, and it was our intent early on to drill it ourselves, raise the money, and conduct 5,000 meters of drilling. And the cost for that is, call it $3.5 million Canadian at the very minimum. Let's round it up to $4 million. The money, the financing that we wanted to do at the end of 2024 didn't quite come together. We regrouped early last year, went to PDAC, met all the majors, and changed strategy and decided that maybe we should look at a partner to advance the project, because if you commit to 5,000 meters, you're committing to $3.5–4 million and no less, because it's a deep-seated target. And what we realized then is that it'd be easier to conclude a transaction if we had 100% of the project as opposed to 75. So the first thing that we did is we renegotiated the terms with Walnut Mines, the owners, and we defer exploration expenditures that total $3.7 million by a full, well, at the time it was a full 15 months and one cash payment by 6 months. So that positioned us quite well to try to go into and negotiate with Infinitum Copper to get to 100% interest, which we did. We announced that we bought 20% with an irrevocable option to buy another 5%. And then with now a clear path to 100%, we said, well, which way are we going to go? Are we going to do it ourselves? We already have $2.4 million into it. Are we going to put another 4 with the dilution that it entails? Are we going to do a deal with a major now that we have a view to 100%? And doing a deal with a major, you know, they're the big guys, and these are tough deals to make. And the other possibility was to hook up with a team of financiers, a company. In the case of Blade, that's a reporting issuer, but they're not listed. They've got some properties that are not core to what they're doing. Hot Breccia is the core project. They got over $1 million in the bank, but they've got a tremendous ability to raise capital. And we thought that retaining 24% interest in Blade and really converting our investments into an asset was the way to go. And it was the favorable thing for our shareholders. And we have anti-dilution rights, representation on the board. So maybe I'll pause there, Martin, and I'll let you ask question because I'm sure you've got a lot of questions.
Okay, yeah, because what in the news release, there wasn't a lot of information on Blade Resources, so that's good to get that background on it. Um, and so they've got some other, they have $1 million of cash as well as some other resource assets, which I guess I don't know if you're implying, but that those may get spun out or divested from them as well. Is
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. And then their plan is to go public. Is that like a 2026 event, like in first half of the year, or do you have that? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, so we're working with them
Yeah.
for that, right? Because um, in order to list, they'll have to do a number of things. 43-101. They're going to have to do financial statements. We will have to do audited financial statements, carve outs of Hot Breccia, and so on and so forth. So we're working with Blade Resources. We got a great relationship. And I think that they do want to expedite that because it's everybody's intent to drill this property this year.
All right.
And then the question, maybe I'll preempt one of your questions that I think you would have is, well, okay, so let's say you have an investment in Blade and it appreciates. What are you going to do with the investment? We address that in the news release, and there are a number of things, Martin, that we can do. So we can uh, uh, keep it for the long term. Any discovery at Hot Breccia will be a game changer for everyone. We're looking at, you know, multi-billion-dollar potential here in the long run. In the long run, these things take time to develop and then so we can play the long game. We can over time divest some of the shares and then reinvest that in other projects like Silver King. Or we can distribute some of the shares to our shareholders or a combination of the last two.
This deal with Blade Resources, is it a non-arm's length transaction? Are you associated with them in any manner, a shareholder, or are they just fully independent of yourself and Prismo?
What a wonderful question, Martin. It's totally arm's length. And that's really, really important here. And people know that I'm a capital markets guy. I've been in the industry for a very, very long time. And I've had people ask me, "Oh, is this non-arm's length?" And I'm happy to report it's completely arm's length, and it's a group that's completely independent of us. And we met a few months ago, and we kind of danced like we danced with other people, and it's a clean arm's length deal. I'm really happy to report that.
You mentioned that these people have very good access to capital. Are you able to like who the principals are involved with this? Are those names that people in the mining exploration world would maybe be familiar with?
Well, the CEO is Mike Blady. He's known. He's not necessarily well known, but he's got enough of a public figure status that he's known to people. And but we'll see whenever the public filings come out. It'll be the shareholder mix, if you will.
Yeah.
That's interesting, and that will become. It's not for me to say here, but it will become clear when we get to the public disclosure statements. Hopefully, that get filed on CEDAR. They control the timing. It's their deal now. It's their transaction. But hopefully that gets filed by the end of March, the end of April. Let's say the end of
Okay.
April, and then everything will be there'll be more information. But thank you for your quizzing, Martin.
All right. So, but your opinion is that these guys have the horsepower to move this project forward.
That is correct. That is correct. So what we will do, and we stated that in the press release, that continue to focus on Silver King, and that is the drilling at Silver King, which is underway now. They will focus on Hot Breccia. We own 24%. So any discovery, any success through the drill bit at Hot Breccia is going to dramatically move the needle for Prismo shareholders. And so we're going to continue to help them. I know that Craig Gibson, our chief exploration officer, he's the one who spent a lot of time in the field at Hot Breccia. He's got a good relationship with their technical team, so we'll continue to provide guidance, and we really want to be able to focus on Silver King. And the last thing I'll say for the shareholders, so I think it's important for them to, when they say, well, is that a good deal or not? I think they need to ask themselves, as opposed to what, right? What else was possible to advance Hot Breccia to drilling? One is raise the money ourselves, and that's big dilution to the shareholders. Do a deal with a major, and I guarantee you that maybe we would have been able to get 20% or 25% up front, and then they spend a lot of money in the ground, and then at some point you got to put up your own money, which means that maybe you end up with not a whole lot of royalty typically. Where here we've turned our investments in Hot Breccia into an asset, and that's a significant ownership in a company where we expect to have liquidity shortly.
You got 24% of Blade Resources. They've got a good management team and some other assets and so forth. Couldn't have you gotten maybe a bigger percentage of them? Like, does this undervalue the Hot Breccia asset? The sort of the share ratio that comes out of it?
I can tell you're a veteran, Martin. The answer is possibly, right. It's all through a negotiation, and some of our objective. Well, one of our objective was to recoup our investments in the way of equity. Yeah. And then the negotiation is, well, what's that worth versus the cash that's there and the cash that's going to come in versus the ability to raise that cash and free up ourselves. So I think we did good. I think it's a good deal for our shareholders. I also want to say that it's not the only people that we have spoken to. We've had a number of expression of interest from a number of parties, and we've spoken to pretty much every major, and we feel that that's a good deal for us.
So this was the best deal. You kind of shopped it around, so to speak, and this was what you figured was the best for shareholders.
That is correct.
All right. I think we've covered everything on the Hot Breccia. It is what it is, and you've explained the rationale there. So on to Silver King, the active target project you're working on, and you got drills turning there. How is that proceeding?
Yes, and I was there all day today. I'm, as I think I mentioned to you one day, Martin, I spent the winter in Tucson, Arizona. I live in Vancouver, where I spent the majority of my time, but I'm here now, so I went to the project. We mobilized when we said we were going to mobilize, and so we're on hole number one. We had a bit of a slow start, but things are chugging along now. We're past 100 meters in the first hole, and we're seeing things that seem to confirm what we have been telling the market, which is from surface there's this steeply dipping mineralized body, and so far we're on track, and we like what we see.
And obviously, we got to get that core to the lab and get the proper assessment of it. So
that's right. Yeah. So and what gives me an opportunity to remind everybody, Martin, is that our plan is to finish the first phase of drilling, which is the shallower part of the mineralized body for 1,000 meters, as we get the core, and we'll send it to the lab at SGS. We'll gather all of that information for the first 1,000 meters. We'll analyze everything, and then we will put out the assay results as a whole.
Yeah.
And people wonder always, which is a fair question. When are you going to put out results? Well, we're going to drill 1,000 meters. We'll gather everything, analyze them, and put it out. And we've made the decision. The first hole, we're going to assay the entire hole, right? It's the first drill hole at Silver King ever. There hasn't been exploration in 100 years, so we like what we're seeing. So might as well gain a very good understanding of the geology at surface by assaying the entire hole.
Okay. And that makes sense to gather the whole package of data and then really figure it, because it paints a picture. And then you can talk about the whole picture, not just individual brushstrokes, to extend the analogy a little too far.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
all right. Anything else to comment on here before Alain, before we wrap it up?
Well, just in case people wonder, now that we've started, what is the timeline of the drilling? And we've been saying, well, it'll take about a month to complete 1,000 meters.
Yeah.
So then when you think about the assay, which is about a month, so the last piece of assay will come in after a month, and then a month later we'll have those results.
Yeah.
So March, April. So end of April, we'll have a very good understanding of what's at surface or close to surface at Silver King, and we'll communicate then.
All right.
And along the way, we have we keep people informed of
Yeah.
how many meters we've drilled, how many holes in that. So we'll be communicating, but the assay results will be one shot.
Ella, thank you very much for the update. Good to talk through this all, and have a great day and talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me, Martin.